And have a blast this morning. So this morning, man, it is it's another week gone by and it happens so quick, right? Um Shout outs for this morning, gratitude for this morning. Anybody you want to give love to this morning out of all of the people that you work with. And as you think about it, just put your hand up, you click the reaction button and you just go boop, and I know to can't call on you. I'll go ahead and have a couple if you guys are thinking about yours. There's a guy on our Power Up this morning. His name is Kevin Sharkey. He is partnering with Bankity Team in Austin. He's a dad of two boys. And so he's from LA, and he was a referral from a Compass agent. So I wanted to shout him out for connecting with us, and he's got a ton of life experience. So if you are looking for a script partner, this would be a good guy to connect with. So he's on and you guys can find him. And then I want to shout out Jonathan Hand in Austin, Texas. He signed a 725 buyer from an open house. So definitely don't sleep on open houses. In fact, Chris Suarez has his whole open house masterclass going on this month. Definitely recommend like jumping in. Just go to placetoolkit.com, and on the front page, you've got like all the training that's coming up. Speaking of open houses, Daniel Weiser, he signed 3 buyers from open houses this week, 500,000, 700,000, 760. So again, don't sleep on open houses. Like, it's such a great opportunity to connect with people who are out there looking. And then I want to shout out Mary, who is our director of operations, and today is her birthday. She shares a birthday with Jolene. So Jolene has a birthday. Jolene is turning the big 40, and then Mary is turning the big 30. So we got some babies around here. I like to think that we're all babies, so that's good. Bart, what about you? What you got?
I hate to be a one-upper, but you made me think of this. So
Oh, no.
Don and Lupe on our team worked in the open house and ended up picking up a $1.6 million buyer from an open house. Pre-approved, ready to go. And so yeah, open houses, don't sleep on them.
I love that. And I had a lot of shout outs, so I didn't want to like take up too much time, but Daniel Weiser also, he had a 425 buyer from Brevity Leads, which is kind of cool because we just talked about Brevity Leads last week. So it's cool to see like kind of the progression. Kevin, or not Kevin, Sharkey. We call him by his last name, Sharkey.
Hey, thanks, Evelina. I just wanted to give like a little bit of gratitude. Well, I mean, a lot of gratitude. I walked in my first day on Monday, like barely having had any chance to like pre-launch, and just got hit with so much like welcoming vibes from everybody. It was, it's like I knew right then and there, like just reconfirmed like the right decision about, partnering up with good people. And just like an example of, we were doing some volunteering on Tuesday, and while we were doing that, everyone was just kind of sharing knowledge or whatever. And, Yvette was like kind of talking to me about open houses and, helping me get comfortable with the idea. And then I just like jumped on the idea to like do an open house. And then Mary stepped in and she was like, let's make sure that you shadow some people first, like helping me be responsible, like walk before you run a little bit, so that I don't trip over my own face. And then like Charlie jumped right, I'm giving gratitude to Charlie for jumping right in and be like, I can totally work with, let me shadow her and stuff like that. So just super helpful and just like thankful that everyone is just so willing to like give up some time and share with me. So thank you so much.
I love that. Right on. Daniel Weiser, going to you, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out the team. Just gratitude, being able to be surrounded by people that aren't just talking about how hard this market may be, or there's just so many people talking about that, but being surrounded people that are just like, oh no, we just need to do A, B, and C, and we can make it great and have a great year. Just surrounding myself by those people and just seeing the results that are coming because of that mindset. Super grateful for that.
Right on. Yeah, this market is like a cringer in some ways, but man, we can work in any market, guys. We got this. I was just talking to one of our agents who we split ways a whiles back, and I was asking them how it's going, because their plan was to work their sphere moving forward, right? Like it was kind of like, I don't need the team because I have my sphere. And I get it. Like, it's different perspectives, right? Sphere dried up. And so here we are, right? And it is, everybody knows X amount of people. And then after that, like, you do have to build a business. So might as well build it with people that want to build it together. So it's a lot more fun. Couple updates for you guys. Prospecting Day was yesterday. If you participated, definitely want to get your result in, because they're giving away like 25 Built How tickets, either to Palm Springs or to Phoenix. So like, anytime Ben wants to give stuff away, I'm like, yes, I'm here, I receive it. And so if you were one of the top 25 participants, and you don't know if you were, unless you get your numbers in. So number one is that. Number two, I had Built House in about less than 2 weeks. Actually, we have about 35 people coming from our Texas group here. We're going to have a Texas dinner Tuesday night at 7. So if you are available, you're welcome to pop in. If you're unavailable, like, there is absolutely no, it's all good. You come if you want to. It's going to be at this place called 849, and it's a cute Palm Springs place, and dinner's on me. So as per usual, we just launch with a good Texas dinner. And then the last thing is, we've been building the last couple weeks. Gail talked about brevity leads, and today Jake is going to talk about, elevating our conversations. Next week, we're going to have a panel of folks who are going to tell us how they're infusing unreasonable hospitality into their deals, right? So everything is kind of building on each other, connect with the client, communicate with the client, and then create that celebratory experience for the client. So it's going to be really fun. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jake DaRosa. If you have never met Mr. Jake DaRosa, I've known you, Jake, how long? Like, has it been 7 years now?
I think so. I think it's seven. Oh, you even spotlighted me. Wow. Awesome.
There you are.
Can I get sharing too? I got a slide deck.
Co-host you.
Yes, 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. So that's cool. It's like half my life, but just kidding, Jake.
Well, you guys talked about earlier, I just turned 47 last month. So you guys were talking about like 37. I'm like, awesome. This is fantastic. Sweet.
Yeah, these guys don't even know, right? Right on.
Yeah.
Before you get started on your slide deck and what you're going to teach us today, give us kind of like, who's Jake, right? Tell that background and who you are, kind of get us started, and then take over.
Yeah. So I started 21 years ago. So I started in the mortgage industry.
Okay.
And the team and I did the math, and gosh, I don't know how many calls I made, but basically when I started, I was a subprime lender, and my boss at that point in time, the guy who hired me, he said, what I want you to do is I want you to go watch Boiler Room and then come back to me and tell me if you still want to work here. And so that was kind of like the first environment that I was getting into, a lot of lead generation, a lot of calling people, and just a lot of conversations. Did that for 10 years, opened up my own brokerage. And I was broker of record, had real estate agents, had mortgage people. And then 2009 hit, and we just were doing mortgage at that point. We had to make additional income. That's when we opened up the real estate side. And then I sold it in 2012 and came to Keller Williams, and I partnered with Ben, 7 years ago when we met, right?
Right on. Okay, so you're in like the whole Sacramento area. How's the market for you guys? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it in the middle? Do you care?
I don't care, because every market has opportunity. It's just your perspective on the market, right? And when I say that, that's how I built my business. I didn't know anything about real estate. And so the way I got into real estate is someone said, hey, I need to sell my house, but I owe more than it's worth. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, can you help me? I said, sure. And then I had to go research on Google what that meant. And I found out it was a short sale. And then I had to research some more and figured out that I had to do a bunch of stuff. And so that was literally my first real estate deal.
Love that. Love that. Okay, well, we're ready for you. That's awesome.
All right. So, I'll just kind of get started is, Ben was talking to us, and one of the things he talked about was that details matter. This year, details really matter. And so with the market shift, we used to be, we used to trip over leads. It was just essentially, you could walk down the hall and you trip over a new lead. It's a little different now, right? So one of the biggest things, I've always been a fan of this, and this has worked incredibly for my career, is the biggest thing is the motivation and looking at the details of a conversation. So that's what I'm going to kind of talk about today, is just some tactics that I've used in my past that have been successful. I've introduced them to our team. They've been using them and it's been successful. And it's really to get to the root of why someone's doing what they're doing so we can help them at a high level, okay? So kind of the way this shook out was I started listening and jumping in on my partner's calls at my office and just started hearing their conversations. So let me get my screen here. Can you guys see that?
You got it.
Awesome. And we'll just kind of jump in here. So one of the things is your income will increase the level of your conversations. I'm a true believer with this. The conversations you're having, and that is why it's so important with our scripts. And we have a lot of script practice and conversations around that, because when we know our scripts, it's no longer feels like a conversation anymore. Would you guys agree? Like it no longer feels like scripts. It's like a natural flow of conversations. So what are we trying to accomplish when we're doing this? One is we got to understand that the person, whether it's an open house person, someone on the other side of a phone call, an internet lead, whatever it is those people are real people, right? They're people. And our goal is to build a relationship with them and learn about what they want to accomplish. One of my favorite John Maxwell quotes is, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And by learning someone's motivation and why they're doing something and asking really great questions, that instills that in them, that you care about what their goals are, you care about what they want to do with their family, and you care about what you want to accomplish. So my favorite quote. So how do we accomplish that? So I see our job as this, and one of my favorite, our goal is to pull out motivation, enhance it with emotion, and get our lead to take action, right? Write that down. Our goal is to pull out motivation, enhance it with emotion, and get them to take action. So what's that mean? Like, well, first off, I want to find out who's involved in the move, why they're doing it, what that's going to do for them. That's our motivation piece, right? I want to then figure out what's important to them about all these things and what it would do for them and their family to accomplish it. And then I'm going to use all that I just learned and use it in some closings. And I'm going to go through a little bit of everything. I'm going to go quick because I know you guys are, Adelina's on time. What do we got? How long do we got, Adelina? 20
You're
minutes?
good, bud.
14
You're good.
minutes? Okay.
Totally. You go for it.
All right. So the most important thing in any conversation, whereas it used to be, you could just say, hey, Adelina, how would you like to own a home for less than you're paying for rent? And it was like, yeah, sign me up, right? Done. Easy. Let's meet. Let's talk about it. Now with interest rates at a higher level, we are only dealing with the motivated. We're going to have less of a pool of people that are interested in buying and selling real estate. And we've got to really find out what their motivation. So here's some couple tactics that are really good that I've used. They're pretty basic, but I listened to conversations and I didn't hear it being used. And once we started implementing these different tactics, it was incredibly different conversations. So the first one that I do is, what do I got here? Hold on, real quick. There we go. My internet's acting up. So the easiest one is they give you an answer. I love to repeat it in a questioning manner. Tonality is everything on this. So if Adelina told me our house didn't sell, my question or comment back to them would be, oh, wow, your house didn't sell? You'd be incredibly amazed at the amount of information that you will get when you do this and you're completely silent after the question. One does a couple things. Set another example, we're going to wait. Oh, wow, so you decided to wait. And I did it yesterday. I was in the bulk account with our team on lead generation day. And this guy told me that he owned 2 properties. The one he tried to sell didn't sell. So what he's doing is he's waiting till June because the tenants in his other house are the lease ends. So he's going to move into that home, downsize his world, and he's going to sell his property so he doesn't have to hit 1031 exchange. His kids are going to a university. They're going to US. I mean, it was just a great conversation. And this is exactly how I started the conversation. I'm sorry. So tonality is everything here, coupled with the silence. When people feel uncomfortable, they will talk and get more information. And that's what we're looking for. Has anybody ever talked to Ben or heard him speak? And when he wants answers, he just doesn't say a thing. You guys familiar with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I get on phone calls with him and I just ask him, are you still there? And he's like, yeah, I'm just listening. So that's what we're looking for. Repeating back what they hear also validates them and makes them feel heard. Any questions on this? This is a super easy one, but it's a very effective conversation.
So just so I'm hearing you correctly, Jake,
Mm-hmm.
so they say, well, we didn't sell the house. And instead of us launching into our next script, right? Like we want to, instead we'd say, oh, okay, so your house didn't sell?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. With that questioning tonality on it.
Got
And
it.
let them talk. You just stay silent and let them give you some more information.
Got it.
So the next one is what we call reversals. So use them to reversals to keep them talking about themselves. So reversals are brief statements and questions that keeps the focus on the other person. So for instance, we want to move to Austin. Oh, wow, Austin's a great area. What's taking you out that way? That's interesting. What has you moving out there? That makes sense. Tell me more. Little questions they love to talk about themselves is sometimes we just need a little bit of encouragement. Now, the reason I'm going into this one is you notice how these questions that we're asking is a little bit more conversational. One of the things that I heard a lot of is we're taught scripts. We get really good at these scripts, and sometimes we just follow the scripts right to a T. And I'm not saying don't follow scripts. However, it's literally a drill down of questions that are really unconversational that I was hearing, at least with my team. So if maybe it's different there, but hey, we want to move to Austin. Awesome. So what's important to you about Austin? That's just a different conversation than, oh, wow, Austin's a really great city. Tell me more about what's taking you out that way. Right? Another thing, instead of try, wow, Austin's a great city. What's taking you out that way? That's interesting. Tell me more about that. And I kind of compare it. It's the same question said differently, and you're going to get different responses because you're opening it up in a more conversational way. Well, I'm moving to Austin because we want to get out of California. That's what I hear all the time, by the way, just so you know. And okay, awesome. So what's important to you about moving to Austin, doing that? And then tell me what that would do for you and your family, right? It's really cold. It's really ingenuine questions. I kind of see a lot of these questions as not being conversational. It's kind of like going on a first date and you get right down to business and just start asking, hey, what are your thoughts about marriage? What about kids, right? We have to ease into these conversations and earn the right to ask deeper questions or it will fizzle really, really quickly. So to recap on this, make your questions, use reversals and make it more conversational. Add a wow, that's awesome. I love Austin. Wow, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Wow, share with me what's got you going that way, right? There's a big difference between that and tell me what's important to you about moving to Austin. Both are motivational questions, which if you're already asking the other one, that's great, but make it more conversational. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I love the perspective you're sharing. Like you wouldn't launch into like, so when are we getting married? That's not the direction we'd go in real life. Why do we do it at that direct level when we were talking to potential clients?
Yeah, and think about your conversations as if you're talking to your friend. Would you have asked your friend the question that way? Like if I say what's important to you about Austin, my friend will like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I mean, that's not how you talk, right? use it like you're talking to a friend, right?
The question isn't bad. The way we frame the question needs to be
Correct.
right on.
Correct. Forward pacing and alignment. Does anybody know what this is? Forward pacing and alignment. One of the things that we do, and I hear this a lot, is what's a common objection that you guys get? I'm going to ask for this. What do you guys see? Like right now, what are you hearing as a common objection or a initial reaction to your call?
Rates
Anybody?
are high.
Rates are high. We're going to wait. Right? We put our plans on hold because the market's so volatile or whatever that looks like. One of the things is a lot of agents launch right into trying to explain why it's a good time to buy versus the other way to do it is getting into the motivation by using forward pacing. And what I would say to that is, gotcha, totally understand, curious, when you do decide to move, what area were you thinking about moving to? Or when you do decide to move, what were your plans around that? When you do decide to sell, and when that time is right, what's that look like for you guys? So you're forward pacing with them and staying in alignment versus trying to sell them on why it's now a good time to sell. And you use that in your conversations, the verbiage you use in your conversations, super important. So those would be my top three that I was hearing when I sat into my conversations and what we've been working on with the team. Do you guys have any questions kind of on this, around this, or anything like that? And then we're just going to kind of move on.
Well, can we go down this route just for a little bit? Okay, so gotcha.
Yeah.
Totally understand. Curious, Jake, when you do decide to make a move, what area are you thinking? Like, where would you take this conversation?
Yeah, you want to script it with me?
Sure.
All right. Adelina, so when you do decide to move, what area you're thinking?
I'd like to buy some land, just, build a house.
Gotcha. Tell me more about that. What has you wanting to build that house?
It's just been a dream of ours, 20 acres, have lots of space, no neighbors.
Gotcha. And the specific area you're going to is looking in Austin?
Yeah. So, probably a little bit outside of Austin with the Austin prices, but yeah.
Gotcha. So you're kind of open to other areas then as well?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Now, in a perfect world, I mean, when would you want to be and have that piece of land so you can start getting your home built?
I mean, I guess whenever like the rates go down, I feel like I can't afford anything right now.
Yeah, I totally understand. There's rates have definitely been volatile over the last 3 weeks. Let me ask you this, Adelina, if you were to find the perfect piece of land, it was exactly what you were looking for, and it made a lot of sense for your family, and it made financial sense for you, would you want me to put that in front of you?
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, I'd love to put that in front of you. And that's exactly why we should get together. Why don't we sit down 15 minutes, or we can do a quick Zoom, and let's talk about what that piece of land, what you're needing with that piece of land, what your new house is going to look like. And we'll go through the process a little bit. That way, should I come across something, I can put it in front of you right away and you don't miss an opportunity. Do afternoons or evenings work better for you?
Well, afternoons work better for me. The only challenge is, going from 3% to 7%. Like, I just don't know how it could be in my budget. Yeah.
And actually, when we sit down and talk, there's actually some financing options that are out there that a lot of people don't know about. And I want to cover those as well with you, and we can see if that makes sense. Hey, if the conversation makes sense to move it forward, we totally can. If not, at least you're going to have some good information to make a really good decision when that time's right. So is the afternoon or the evening time better for you?
Got it. Afternoon.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we're going to kind of run through the objections too here in a second, and the different types that we're using, kick the can down the road. If you could, would you? Those are probably my favorite. We actually have an objection handler framework that I'll run through here with you guys real quick too.
Love it.
I suck on slides, so sorry. All right, objections. Here's my favorite objection framework that we kind of came up with. We basically, it was a mashup of different built house and and Ben and Anthony. And we came up with this because we wanted any agent at any level to be able to set appointments at a high level and understand and know that they're going to have one of their partners be able to assist them, even if they don't know. So first thing is they hit you with an objection. I repeat it and dig more on it. So like Adelina hit me with the rates are too high. What I would say to Adelina is, okay, so the rates are too high. Tell me about that. What specifically about the rates concern you? Because we don't necessarily know what exactly about the rates are concerning her. Maybe she can't afford the payments. Maybe it's because she thinks that rates are going to crash the market and she doesn't want to buy here and have to in a year be underwater, right? It can mean different things. So we're going to dig. If we haven't got motivation, we're going to go after motivation, what had them wanting to buy in the first place, things like that. And then what we do is after we get that information, what I'm going to do is I call it a reframe. So we have 3 reframes that it typically falls into. One is making a good financial decision. 2 is not wanting to settle. And 3 is with sellers is, especially when they just come off the market on an expired, is they don't want disturbance. They don't want, everything that was happening before. So at that point, once I've dug, I would say, Adelina, so what I'm hearing then is that whatever you do and whenever you do it, you want to make sure that it's a good financial decision. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Now, I'm never going to go back to rates being high or the market crashing or anything like that because I can't control that. What I can control is determining if it is a good financial decision for her. At that point in time, I'm going to isolate and I'm going to say, hey, Adelina, out of curiosity, aside from making sure it's a great financial decision for you and your family, is there anything else that concerns you about what's going on in today's real estate market? If she says no, then I'm going to close. If she says yes, I'm going to run right through this framework again, and I can get you more on that framework. But that's kind of the framework around and how the conversation would go with the objections that we're hearing. This is one of my favorites. If this, then that. This is kind of what I used with Adelina. I think we're going to wait. Out of curiosity, if I was able to find you the perfect home that checked off all the boxes for you and your family, and it made great financial sense, you'd want me to put that in front of you, right? And if they say no, they're idiots, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if they say no, it's like, you have an unmotivated client and you could probably move on from them. So great, that's exactly why we should meet. Let's get together and go over exactly what you're looking for so I can get really great clarity. That way, should it come across something that is perfect for you and your family, I could be sure to put it in front of you so you don't miss out on a great opportunity. Do afternoons or evenings work better for you? So that's the if this, then that. You can flip this into a seller too. If out of curiosity, Adelina, if you were able to get the offer that made sense for you and your family, and you were able to get it in a timeline that worked for you, I mean, you would look at that offer, right? Yes. Awesome. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Use stories. We do actually in Power Up now. We started a conversation. It was actually came from what's the hospitality? I'm blanking on the title. What's that? Unreasonable hospitality. And I thought about it. I was like, hey, we could integrate this into our Power Ups. And we just start we were sharing stories about how we helped out people at a high level. And for instance, Robert, he just helped someone who tried to sell the Sunday. They decided not to go with Sunday, and Sunday is a institutional cash buyer in our area. I don't know if you guys have it out there. And he ended up netting the sellers $95,000 more by going to market, and then they would have netted had they have gone with Sunday. And so we start sharing these stories, and the reason is because we want to use our team stories, even if we don't have stories of our own, right? Hey, you know what? Gosh, I had someone that was in the exact same situation as you. And what they did is once we sat down and figured out what the financial piece of it looked like and what they were netting and then saw what they were getting from Sunday, they actually listed with us. We netted them $95,000 more than they would have got. And I'd love to sit down and talk about the same thing with you. Do afternoons or evenings would work better for you, right? So using stories is a big one. Kick the can down the road. We have a lot of things. We don't want to ever sell on the phone. I'm sure you guys talk about this a lot. You know, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. What's commission, right? Now, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. You know, commissions are completely negotiable in California, and our team doesn't charge any more than the average agent, yet we provide a lot more value. We will cover that in detail when we sit down. Don't handle the objection over the phone. If you do that, you give them all the information they need and they won't want to meet, right? There's no need to. They know what your commission is, they know what you market, right? So we focus on that as well. We use the kick the can. And this is probably one of the things. So we get into the motivation, figuring that out. We are handling any objections that come through the conversation. And the biggest thing is to get them to take action. And one of the big things I was hearing with our team is people just didn't have just a solid close set down practiced, right? So I call this your 30-second elevator pitch. Why is it someone wants to work with you if they're buying, and why is it someone wants to work with you when you're selling, right? So what we use is, for instance, for buyers. You know what, Mr. Buyer, it sounds like getting to Austin is incredibly important for you and your family. And by getting that piece of land and building your dream home and a home that works completely for your family is really important goal for you. Why don't we do this? Let's meet for 15 minutes. We'll go over the market, what's happening in our current real estate client to make sure you're getting the best deal. In addition, we'll cover the entire buying process from financing to the escrow process. And most importantly, we'll discuss what your needs are so we can find you the perfect home for you and your family. Do afternoons or evenings work better? The afternoons are weird. Our partners that have the highest success have a close that they use. And it's just like, I mean, when they hear something or they know the time's right, they use it and they have it completely down. When we start wavering and waffling and things like that, like, oh, let's get together, what do you think? Or that's typically when we don't have the close, or we don't have the get the appointments, right? Same thing for sellers. You know what, Mr. Sellers, it sounds like getting, right, they're selling their house. Getting to Folsom so you and your family can be one of the best school districts is a really important goal for you. Why don't we do this? Let's meet for 15 minutes. We'll go over the market, discuss what the market value for your home appears to be. I'll share our marketing strategy and what we do to ensure success for our sellers of obtaining the most amount of money in a time frame that works for you. And if what we talk about makes sense, we can continue the conversation. If not, at least you'll have a plan and knowledge for you when the time is best. So having that seller one, having that buyer one, super important. I just gave a book recommendation. This is a great book to look at and listen to, and talks about listening and validation, called I Hear You with Michael Sorensen. And that was my quick little presentation. And so I want to see who has questions and any takeaways from it.
Yeah, so I can get us started on a question. So I love like the two closes you just shared on the buyer and the seller side. If you put yourself in, we tend to be showing a lot more houses than we were before,
Sure.
right? And even when we set expectations on the front end, right?
Mhm.
But let's say we're showing a house, right? Like what are some ways that you're seeing work for closing at the showing, right? So they seem to like it, seems to be going okay, but man, like in their head, they're thinking they're gonna have to go see a whole lot more, right? Like, what are some ways that you're closing that gap right now? Is there a way?
Yes. So that comes in the actually buyer consultation. So when I get to the part of how we're going to find you homes, what we do is I get permission from them, and I say, hey, Adelina, when we're out showing homes, if you're okay with it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you two questions after we see a house. One is, do you want to write an offer? Okay. And two is, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate this? And it's not going to be that I'm wanting to pressure you, Adelina. What I want to do is understand exactly what you're looking for, so that I know that I'm doing my job of putting the right homes in front of you. Are you okay with me doing that? Because then what you do is, once you're looking at these homes and you're asking those two questions, one, you're getting them into the mindset of writing offers, right? Hey, do you want to write an offer? And two, if they rate, say you're showing 5 homes that day, and they have 2 that they rated 8s and the rest were 2s and 3s, you can then say, hey, you know what? These were really great homes and you rated them an 8. I think we should really take some serious consideration and go after writing offers on one of these properties. What are your thoughts around that?
Okay, I love that. So essentially, if we were setting up the conversation in the buyer consult, then it doesn't feel pushy and weird. Like it
Yep.
feels like part of the process. Okay, love that.
Exactly. And you're actually saying that, hey, I'm doing this not because I'm trying to push you. I'm doing this because I want to understand exactly what you're looking for, and it will help me understand that.
Perfect. What about on the seller side? Like you're getting, maybe you're getting showings, but you're getting no offers. Is there a adjustment conversation that you tend to have that works well for you in your market?
Yeah, I think again that goes to the conversations in the selling seller consultation, right? One of the things I say is, hey, you know what, Adelina, gosh, this market is definitely a different market than we've been in the past. We used to be able to put a house on the market, didn't matter where it was priced, and it would just sell. Here's the thing, is that the first 2 weeks are the most critical and most important weeks that you're going to come into when you list your house. And we're going to know a lot about what the market is saying to us. The market will tell us if we're priced correctly, or it will tell us if we're a little aggressive, and it'll also tell us if we're a little under market, because we'll get more than one offer on it and it will adjust the price upward. So in the first 2 weeks, we got to watch it closely. And should we need to adjust price, I want to make sure that you're good with that. And I show them, I have do you guys have the circle target? Do you have that where it says
Target?
Yep. I take that with me too. And I say, should 2 weeks come, what's the would you want to adjust it 5, 7, right? I have that conversation up front with them so that they understand. And what we do is every week we have any listings that are active, we're doing market updates for them in Brivity under the notes section, and we send it to them so that I can view it. It's basically what's going on in your market, any new listings that came on the market, any new listings that the market absorbed, and anything that sold.
Got it. Okay.
And then your recommendations.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions that are popping up? You can just ask if you want, or you can pop it in Zoom. So make sure, well, we got anything like, I know sometimes you guys have, you have luxury clients out in your area.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do any of these conversations sound different with luxury folks, or anything you adjust for when the price point is over a certain amount?
I actually like luxury clients, because the reason they're typically luxury, because they're maybe a little bit smarter than the average, Joe, or really good with money, right? And so they understand the money aspect and the pricing aspect. Sometimes with luxuries, like I'm gonna probably relist this condo out here for 2.4 million again, or 1.8. Sometimes they want their price, and you just have to be really diligent on the follow-up and what the feedback is and what the pricing moving around the area is. I don't know that it's necessarily really different. I think the service level kind of increases, and especially the communication has to be spot on with them, because if not, their expectations are a little bit higher, in my opinion, than say the normal. If I'm selling a $400,000 house versus a $2.3 million house, I've got to let him know what's happening with the market, what's the feedback, because if you don't, they'll really be on your butt.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is the expectation is higher, therefore the service has to be higher.
Correct.
And you have to be so much more proactive. Like that is the difference between just an average clientele and that luxury level clientele. Is number one, your proactiveness. Number two, the level of expectation of service.
I would say that's the biggest difference, 100%.
Okay. Tracy in Houston has a question. So when we're talking about sellers, are you not putting them on auto market reports? Because you just went over, hey, we're gonna put notes in there in the transaction. You want to
Yes.
the differences of why you do one or the other, or you do both to solve different different problems?
Yeah. You want me to share what we do or?
Yeah, you got it. You good?
Okay. So I do both. And let me pull one up for an example for you.
Yeah, I figured you'd have your brevity up.
I'm not going to show you my brevity though. It's not super clean. All right, let's see. Close state. I'll bring up, actually, let me just bring up a little oil. This one was an extremely challenging property to sell. And let me share the screen here. So we put them up on weekly market alerts, but we also write up a little tidbit every week. And for instance, here's the market overview. This one was really weird because it essentially had uneven floorings. So we even had an engineer go out there and tell them that the flooring was solid, but people were flipping out over it, right? So here's kind of a market overview report. We put the what it is, the months of inventory in this price range in the area, 2.9 months. And then I give an explanation. What this means is still a good market compared to last year. At this time, we're up 193% more inventory. Last year, it was at 1 month. What we expect in this inventory level is that homes need to be competitively priced in a great condition and priced accordingly. Will take a little longer to sell due to the competition, close listings. I put on the new active listings, right? In the last 7 days for his price range, one new listing, 8461 Albany Avenue, 499.32, half acre and updated. Properties that went pending, properties and sold. So I always look at, when I do reports for people or when I'm setting up front expectations, I look at those as an opportunity to have my clients act the way I want them to act, if that makes sense. The wording I use, the conversations that I'm having is I want them to work with me, and I use that as to set up the expectations to get them to act. So you can see here is like, even right here, you know, it's at 193% more inventory. Last year it was at 1 month of inventory. What we expect in this inventory level is that, boom, and I put in here so that they're not busting me up for not selling their house because their neighbor had sold their house in 2 days in 2021, right? So I'm educating and showing them what's going on in the market. This is a really important one too, showing the last 7 days, especially if you want to give them the information or something that needs help on their house or something that needs to get changed, you know, overall feedback. One verbal offer, continue to follow up, feedback, unwanted guests had left personal belongings. This one actually got broken into. A drug addict kind of used the bathroom. There was needles and stuff in there, but yeah, so this kind of shows what was happening with the property. So we do both of them.
Okay, do you post this in notes in Brevity so that the client can view it, or do you send it as an email?
We put it right here and we put the eyeball on it because once it gets posted, an email will go to them.
Okay, so you're not like double doing or just like relying on email for this stuff. You really are using, like when you say in the listing presentation that, you know, Brevity is here for transparency through the entire transaction, like you really mean that you're putting things in here.
Yeah, 100%. You can see all the market overview reports she did. See all this?
Yeah.
And that was every week because we want our clients to know what's going on, especially if their house is sitting. The last thing you want on a sitting home is lack of communication, or a home that's having a challenge selling, because then they just are asking you what are you doing to my house, and you're like the last agent that they expired off the market with. There's zero communication there.
Right on. I love that. Are you going to be at Built How?
Heck yeah, I've got our teams coming too. So there's gonna be about, well, part of our team. So there's gonna be like 5 of us, 6 of us.
Nice. Okay, right on. Will you pop your contact info in chat? And then when everybody that's coming to Built How, they see you, you're a pretty tall guy, can't miss you. You sit in the front, but then you also stand up a lot. Like when you,
Look at you, gosh.
you're also in the back walking around. So definitely to connect with you. You guys cover the greater Sacramento market, including Folsom and all of that area, right? Any other areas that you covered that we need to know about?
Placer County, Sacramento County, and El Dorado County. So El Dorado Hills, Folsom, California, Granite Bay, and those are my areas I like to work a lot. So
I love that. And you started out in the mortgage business. So if anybody's got any mortgage questions, like I would get his information, just pop it into my phone and just have your resources, guys. Like the power of all of this is having people who are experts in their field, right? Like 21 years, like I'd use that. Like generally, like if a random agent calls you up, that's outside of place, you know, whether you have time or not is the determinant of like whether you're returning that call. But as soon as it's a place person, like, you know, we do prioritize that. So thanks for sharing your time with us this morning. A little extra, which thank you for like showing us how you do it as well. So that was cool.
mhm. Yeah, and just I'd say remember anything in this market, and from my experience, is drill down on motivation. I mean, it can't say it enough times, because the motivated are going to act, the unmotivated are going to wish, right? So
Cool, right on. Don't spend too much time on unmotivated. Just keep them going through the process. That's what Brevity is there for, right?
yes, and then the other thing is add a ton of nurtures, because when we come out on the other side, if you have a boatload of nurtures, your business will explode as well. So
I love that. I love that. Thanks, Jake. Well,
all righty,
we'll see you soon. Okay.
thank you, see ya.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Jake.